The elevator doors slid open with a chime that echoed like a gunshot in the empty lobby, and there he was, leaning against the reception desk, arms crossed, that effortless smile cutting through the fluorescent hum like a blade. "Morning, team," he said, voice smooth as Lake Michigan fog, eyes scanning the cluster of us like we were pieces on a board he already owned. My coffee burned my tongue as I swallowed hard, the chat notification from last night still buzzing phantom vibrations against my thigh. "Can't wait to finally see you in person, Alex. Tomorrow changes everything." I stumbled into my cubicle, heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted out, dumping my bag under the desk with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Jordan Hale, that was his name, scrawled on the company email blast like some corporate prophecy, had just shaken hands with the entire floor, his grip firm and warm, lingering a beat too long on mine. Tall, broad-shouldered, with ink-black hair swept back just enough to hint at rebellion under the tailored gray suit. I typed 1,000 words to that face last night, confessed dreams I'd buried deeper than my grandma's old Polaroids in the attic back on the south side. And now, he was my boss. The man who'd whispered filthy promises into my inbox for months was the one signing my performance reviews. By lunch, the office was a hive of whispers, interns buzzing about the hot new exec from New York, like he was a celebrity sighting on Michigan Avenue. I hunched over my spreadsheet, numbers blurring into nonsense, replaying every message. "Mystery Man 42, tell me what you'd do if I walked into your office right now. God, if he only knew. Or worse, if he did." My phone lit up under the desk, a group text from my roommate, Theo, forwarding a meme about soul-crushing Mondays. I almost laughed, but it caught in my throat like broken glass. This wasn't funny. This was a grenade with the pin half pulled. Afternoon dragged like tar through the loop traffic outside our high-rise windows, the Chicago River glinting mockingly under a slate-gray sky. "Jordan, Mr. Hale," I reminded myself, forcing the formality like armor, called the first all-hands in the conference room overlooking the bean. I slipped in last, claiming a seat in the back row, notebook clutched like a shield. He paced the front, projector casting his shadow long and lean across the whiteboard, talking mergers and metrics with a charisma that made the room lean in. "We're not just crunching numbers here," he said, locking eyes with a few of us, mine included. Or did I imagine that flicker? "We're building futures. Personal ones." A murmur rippled through, and I felt heat crawl up my neck, memories of his late-night texts flooding back. "I want to build something real with you, Alex. No more hiding." The meeting wrapped, and as chairs scraped back, he caught me at the door. "Alex Harper, right? Marketing analytics." His voice dropped just for me, that same timbre from voice notes that had me replaying them in the dark. Up close, he smelled like cedar and fresh linen, cologne subtle enough to haunt. "Heard good things. Let's chat later, get you up to speed on the new project." I nodded, mute as a fish on the line, and bolted for the stairwell, gulping air that tasted like panic and possibility. Back at my desk, the inbox waited like a trap, an invite from j.hale@stratfordgroup.com for a one-on-one at 4. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, drafting excuses, flu, family emergency, sudden aversion to eye contact, but hit send on acceptance instead. What was this? A professional courtesy, or the universe's cruelest punchline? Theo texted again. "How's the new boss?" Spill. I typed fine and deleted it, settling on surviving. Truth was, I wasn't. Not when every glance at the glass-walled corner office made my pulse stutter. Not when the man who'd mapped my vulnerabilities online now held my career in his palm. 4 o'clock sharp, I knocked on his doorframe, the city sprawl behind him a dizzying backdrop of steel and glass. "Come in," he called, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk, all polished oak and minimalist art, abstract swirls that screamed money and taste. He leaned back, sleeves rolled to elbows revealing forearms corded with quiet strength, a silver watch catching the light. "Relax, Alex. This isn't an interrogation." His smile was easy, disarming, but those dark eyes, framed by lashes too long for fairness, held a depth that made my stomach twist. We talked KPIs and client pitches, his questions sharp but kind, drawing out details I'd fumbled in front of HR. He listened, really listened, nodding like he cared about more than the data. As the clock ticked toward 5, he steepled his fingers. "You seem familiar. Ever worked in New York?" I froze, the lie forming on my tongue. "No, sir," but he waved it off with a chuckle. "Probably just one of those faces. Anyway, I think you'll kill it on this campaign. Welcome aboard, for real." He stood to shake my hand again, and in that electric second, our palms met, skin warm and calloused in ways spreadsheets never explained. I pulled away first, mumbling thanks, and fled to the elevators, the descent mirroring the drop in my chest. That night, back in my cramped Wicker Park apartment, walls thin as promises, Theo's laughter filtering from the kitchen, I stared at my phone. No new messages from Mystery Man 42. The app sat dormant, a ghost in the glow. I poured a whiskey neat, the burn steadying my nerves, and typed, "Hey stranger. Rough day at the new gig. Miss your voice. Sent. Watch the dots dance." Then nothing. Minutes stretched to an hour. The city hum outside my window, a lonely symphony of horns and distant sirens. When sleep finally claimed me, it was restless, dreams tangled with boardrooms and bedside confessions, his face blurring between boss and phantom lover. Morning came too soon, coffee bitter on my tongue as I suited up, another button down. This one ironed hasty, tie knotted crooked. The L train rattled me downtown, bodies pressed close in the winter chill seeping through cracks, my mind replaying yesterday's handshake like a loop. At the office, Jordan was already in motion, barking orders into a headset while typing furiously, sleeves hitched higher today, tattoos peeking. A script of coordinates inked along his wrist, faint and intriguing. I buried myself in reports, but his door stayed open, glimpses of him pacing, laughing into calls with a timbre that echoed our private chats. Mid-morning, a memo dropped. Team building happy hour at the Gauge, post-work. Mandatory fun. The subject line read, Jordan's signature flourish at the bottom. Theo hooped when I told him over lunch. Falafel from the cart on Clark Street. Wind whipping napkins into the gutter. Go get wrecked, babe. Maybe hook up with that boss vibe you're dodging. I rolled my eyes, but the knot in my gut tightened. Dodging. More like drowning. The bar was packed by 6, wood-paneled walls pulsing with after-work energy, craft beers foaming over rims as colleagues clustered around high tops. I nursed a bourbon in the corner, watching Jordan hold court at the bar, easy charisma drawing laughs from the suits, his head thrown back in genuine mirth. Our eyes met across the room, and he raised his glass, a silent toast that sent heat pooling low. I nodded back, feigning casual, but my phone vibrated. Mystery Man 42. Sorry for the silence. Crazy day. Tell me everything. Fingers flying, I ducked into the alley for air, the message spilling out. New boss is intense. Feels like he sees right through me. Dots danced immediate. Sounds dangerous. Good dangerous? I leaned against brick, exhaling smoke from a borrowed cig, typing the best kind. Wish you were here to complicate it. His reply. Soon. Promise. Back inside, Jordan sidled up, pine in hand. Hiding from the fun? Up close in the dim light, his cologne wrapped around me again, that cedar depth pulling like gravity. We talked, surface stuff, Bears versus Packers, the endless Chicago winter, but under it, currents swirled, unspoken. You ever feel like the city's too small? He asked, voice low over the din, like you'll run into the same ghosts everywhere? My breath hitched. Every day, I wanted to say. Instead, all the time. The night blurred into shots and stories, the group thinning until it was just a few of us, Jordan's arm brushing mine as we settled into a booth. His knee nudged my thigh under the table. Accidental? Intentional, and electricity sparked, raw and reckless. You're quiet, he murmured, breath warm against my ear. Everything okay? I met his gaze, searching for recognition, for the man who typed, I love the way you think, Alex. Raw, real, but there was only curiosity, professional warmth. Yeah, I lied, clinking glasses. Just adjusting. By last call, the bar emptied, and he offered a ride. His sleek black Audi idling curbside, heater blasting against the November bite. I slid in, leather creaking under me, the silence thick as fog rolling off the lake. Thanks, I said, directions to Wicker Park tumbling out. He drove smooth, one hand on the wheel, the other drumming a rhythm on his thigh, fingers long, capable. We talked music, Springsteen over the new indie crap, he said, and for a moment, it felt easy, like slipping into a favorite coat. He pulled up outside my building, engine idling. Night, Alex. See you bright and early. Our eyes locked, a beat too long, and I swear his lips parted like he might say more. But I bolted, up the stairs 2 at a time, heart thunderous. Inside, Theo was out cold on the couch, TV flickering infomercials. I collapsed into bed, phone in hand, just dropped off by a coworker. Close call. Mystery Man. Tell me more. What did he look like? I typed the truth. Tall, dark hair, eyes that undo you. Then deleted, settling on handsome devil. His reply came swift. Sounds like trouble. The kind I approve of. I smiled into the pillow, the lie of separation a fragile thread holding me together. Weeks bled into a rhythm. The office a pressure cooker of deadlines and double espressos. Jordan's presence the constant simmer beneath. He dropped by my desk unannounced, leaning over partitions with questions that veered personal. Favorite dive bar? Worst breakup story? His laugh a low rumble that lingered in my ears long after. Online, Mystery Man filled the gaps, our chats deepening. Vulnerabilities traded like contraband. I grew up in a house where love was a four-letter word. He confessed one midnight. Dad's a cop. Mom's a ghost. You? Southside Irish. Alex typed back. Priest uncles who quoted Bible at brunch. Hiding was survival. In person, the tension coiled tighter. A late-night project had us alone in the conference room, city lights painting stripes across the table as we pored over mock-ups. His foot hooked mine under the table, deliberate this time, and when I didn't pull away, his gaze sharpened, a question hanging unspoken. Alex, he started, voice gravel rough. There's something about you. The door swung open then, facilities guy with his mop bucket, and the moment shattered like cheap glass. I fled to the bathroom, splashing water on my face, mirror reflecting a man fraying at the edges, hazel eyes bloodshot, stubble shadowing my jaw. What was this dance? Flirtation or fate's sick joke? Back home, the app glowed. Dreamed of you tonight. Woke up wanting more. I poured it out. It's killing me. This pull towards someone I can't have. And he replied, then take it. Life's too short for what-ifs. The breaking point came on a Friday. Snow dusting the streets like powdered sugar on regret. Company holiday party at the Art Institute. The great hall strung with lights. Chihuly glass sculptures glowing like frozen fire. I arrived late, tie loosened, bourbon already warming my veins from a pregame at home. Jordan was magnetic in a charcoal suit. No tie. Collar open to reveal a sliver of chest hair. Casual confidence that drew eyes like moths. He found me by the Monet, champagne flute in hand. You clean up nice, Harper. We talked art. His love for the raw strokes, my affinity for the blues, and the alcohol loosened tongues, barriers thinning. His hand grazed my lower back as we navigated the crowd, a touch that seared through wool. Dance with me, he murmured, nodding to the jazz trio in the corner. I let him lead, bodies close in the sway, his breath on my neck as Sinatra crooned from hidden speakers. This feels right, he whispered, lips brushing my ear. Heart hammering. I turned, our faces inches apart, the world narrowing to the heat between us. Then his phone buzzed, insistent, ugly, and he pulled back, cursing under his breath. Work, he said, but his eyes darted, guilty. I excused myself to the balcony, cold air slapping sense into me, and that's when my app pinged. Mystery Man. Can't make our meetup tonight. Emergency. The timestamp, 2 minutes ago. Coincidence? Or the thread snapping? I confronted the mirror in the coat check later, resolve hardening like ice on the lake. No more games. Back in the hall, Jordan was deep in conversation with the CEO, but he broke away when he saw me, brow furrowed. You okay? Actually, I said, voice steady for the first time in months. We need to talk. Privately. He nodded, leading me to a side gallery, Rothko's looming like judgmental gods. There, under the hush of canvas and shadow, I laid it bare. The app, the messages, the months of building a ghost only to find him flesh and blood. His face cycled, shock, then dawning horror, then a laugh, bitter and broken. Jesus, Alex. It's you? All this time. Relief crashed with rage. Why didn't you say? He raked a hand through his hair, pacing the marble. I didn't know. The username. Thought it was some random hookup app fling. When I transferred here, HR gave me the roster. Your face hit me like a freight train that first day. He stopped, eyes pleading. I wanted to tell you. But the power dynamic, HR nightmare. And then, I fell harder in real life. We stood there, breaths sinking in the quiet, the party's murmur distant as a dream. His hand found mine, tentative, then sure, thumb tracing knuckles. This doesn't have to end, he said, voice raw. We figure it out. Discreet. Real. I searched his face, the man who'd seen my scars online, now offering to heal them offline, and nodded, the kiss tentative at first, then hungry, tasting of champagne and second chances. But secrets have teeth. Monday morning, the rumor mill churned. Whispers of Jordan's rapid rise, old emails surfacing from his New York days, flirtations with subordinates, a quiet exit after a complaint. HR called us in separately, the glass walls no shield from prying eyes. Fraternization policy. The suit droned, forms thrust across the desk. Jordan took the hit. Reassignment to a satellite office in Evanston, a demotion veiled as lateral move. Me? A slap on the wrist, probationary watch. Nights blurred into stolen hours. His place in Lincoln Park, a loft with exposed brick and views of the skyline that felt like ours. We'd cook, pasta thrown together with whatever, his hips swaying to Coltrane as sauce simmered, then tangle in sheets that smelled of him, bodies mapping what words couldn't. I love you, he said one dawn, fingers tracing my spine, the words heavy with truth. Not the online version. You. But the office soured. Colleagues' glances sharpened. Theo warning over beers at Big Star. Babe, they're circling. Protect yourself. Online. I deleted the app, but ghosts lingered. Jordan's ex from New York emailing him. Veiled threats of exposure if he didn't make it right. Paranoia crept in. Arguments flaring over nothing. A late text, a canceled dinner. You're pulling away. I'd accuse, and he'd snap. I'm fighting for us, Alex. Can't you see? The climax hit like a blizzard. Fierce, unrelenting. Valentine's, snow blanketing the city in white silence. We planned a getaway to his family's cabin up in Door County, Wisconsin. Neutral ground, no suits or screens. But en route, his phone exploded. The ex, going public on LinkedIn, screenshots of old chats twisted into scandal. By the time we crossed state lines, alerts pinged nonstop, Stratford stock dipping, bored furious. Jordan white-knuckled the wheel, jaw set. I have to go back. Handle this. Alone. The word cracked between us, raw as the wind howling off Lake Michigan. We argued in a diner off the highway, pie cooling untouched, voices rising over the clatter of plates. You promised no more hiding, I said, tears hot on my cheeks. This is us against the world, or nothing. He reached for my hand, but I yanked away. It's not that simple. My career, our future. Your career, I echoed, bitter. What about mine? What about us? The drive back was funeral quiet, Milwaukee fading in the rear view like a half-remembered dream. At his loft, bags unpacked in silence, he tried. We'll weather it, I swear. But the kiss goodbye tasted like ash, and when the door clicked shut, I walked the snowy streets alone, breath fogging the air, wondering if love was just another Chicago winter. Beautiful, brutal, bound to thaw into loss. Spring crept in reluctant, buds pushing through concrete cracks along the lakefront path, where I ran to outpace the ache. The office reassigned me to a new team, Jordan's absence a void filled by awkward memos and secondhand gossip. He'd resigned quietly, heading west to Seattle for a startup gig. Fresh start, the euphemism. Text trickled, miss you. Call, then dried up, the silence louder than any fight. Theo dragged me to therapy, a cozy spot in Andersonville with plants and no judgment, where I unpacked the layers. The boy who'd hidden crushes in high school lockers, the man terrified of being seen. You're enough, the counselor said, soft as rain on the L. Betrays aren't definitions. Slowly, the weight lifted, not gone, but lighter. I dated casually, a barista with tattoos and easy laughs. But nothing stuck, my heart still sketching Jordan's outline in the margins. Summer hummed alive, festivals crowding Grant Park with bass thumps and street food steam. One sticky July evening, post-Pitchfork, I wandered into a pop-up art show in Pilsen, murals splashed vivid on warehouse walls, galleries spilling laughter onto sidewalks. There, amid the crowd, was a canvas, swirling blues and grays, a figure alone on a platform, trench coat billowing. My platform, my dusk, rendered in strokes that bled emotion. The artist stood beside it, sleeves rolled, dark hair tousled, eyes meeting mine with a jolt. Jordan. He turned, smile tentative, paint flecked on his cheek. Alex. No explanations, just that look, the one that undid me once. Saw this in a dream, he said, nodding to the piece. You. Always you. We talked till closing, walking the alleys as fireflies blinked lazy in the heat. He was rebuilding. Art by night, consulting by day, therapy his own confession. I ran because I was scared, he admitted, hand brushing mine. Of losing control. Of you seeing the mess. I nodded, the old hurt surfacing, but softened by time. I was scared too. Of being the mess. No grand gestures, just coffee the next week, then dinners, slow, like jazz solos unwinding. We navigated the ruins. Boundaries drawn crisp, No office shadows to haunt. Love rebuilt not in whispers, but shouts. Him at my gallery opening, my own sketches, Southside stories in charcoal. Me at his first solo show, walls lined with our shared ghosts. Fall returned, leaves carpeting the parks in gold, and on a crisp October afternoon by the bean, its mirrored curve reflecting us infinite. We stood close, his arm around my waist, the city sprawling endless. This is it, he said, lips to my temple. No more mysteries. I leaned in, tasting freedom in the kiss, the skyline a promise. We were the story now, flawed and fierce, written in the light. In the end, it wasn't perfection that saved us, but the grace to forgive, the world's our own. Chicago pulsed around us, vast and unforgiving, but in its heart, we'd carved a space. Two men, unapologetic, loving loud against the wind. And in that, we found home.